What's going on, guys? It's Fuzzy. Welcome back to yet another Major League Baseball video. Today is going to be a whole lot of fun because what we're going to do is we will be breaking down every single team's 2018-2019 offseason transactions. So if you guys enjoy stuff like this, make sure you slap a like on this video, subscribe for more baseball content. Also, before we actually start talking about the video itself, if you guys have a favorite team, want to hear all of the transactions, I want you guys to let me know in the comment section down below. What is your opinion? Because maybe you guys don't agree with me. So let's say I talk about the Royals. If you don't agree with my grade, let me know in the comment section why you disagree. And without further ado, let's get into it. So the Blue Jays had to have a good offseason because Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is about to come up. You know, they're trying to get fans inside the seats, and they're competing with the Red Sox and the Yankees, who both had pretty good offseasons. The Red Sox, not so much because they just won the World Series, so they're already really good. They spent a ton of money in 2017. So let's talk about the Blue Jays real quick. They added Clay Buchholz, Freddie Galvis, Bud Norris, David Phelps, Clayton Richard, Matt Schumacher, and then they added a couple different players like Trent Thornton, who is the Blue Jays' number 22 prospect, trade with the Astros, and then finally John Axford and Eric Sogard. So if we think about it, if we put everything into perspective, the Blue Jays, I don't think anyone expects them to make a playoff push, but if they can bring up Vladimir Guerrero Jr., it's probably going to be about 2 weeks or 3 weeks into the season. You know what, their offense might be pretty good. I'm not going to say solid, but I think it would be average. I don't mean to start off the video like this, but just I don't know if Clay Buchholz is going to be good. Freddie Galvis is pretty all right. Bud Norris is, Bud Norris. So what I'll do is I'll give the Blue Jays a B- because I don't think they solved any gaping holes. I don't think they're going to be that much better. Now, I will say Freddie Galvis is probably going to get them 160 to 180 hits, so maybe he's going to make a big contribution. So I'm going to give the Blue Jays a B-. I'll kind of be nice. So I feel bad for anyone who is an Orioles fan who is about to watch this segment of the video because, yeah, the offseason wasn't very good. Last season wasn't very good. And to start off spring training, Chris Davis is like 1 for 11 with 7 to 8 strikeouts. So, yeah, not so great so far. So if we take a look at their transactions, they added Drew Jackson, the number 24 prospect, in a trade with the Phillies, Nate Carnes, Hanser Alberto, Alcides Escobar, Austin Bryce, Rio Ruiz, and Eric Young Jr. So, Orioles fans, I'm really sorry that I have to do this to you guys. I know expectations are really low, but you would think that they at least would try to get better. So I'm going to give the Orioles a straight C because they didn't get better. I don't know if they got worse. They're just a C team. They're actually maybe even a D. What do you guys think? What are the Orioles? I don't want to be mean. I don't want to give out Ds. Before we start talking about the Rays, I do have to mention the fact that they acquired a few good players last year at the trade deadline. They got Tommy Pham and Austin Meadows. Big contributions this year in 2019. Now in terms of the acquisitions that they made in the offseason, they got Yandy Diaz from the Indians. Yandy Diaz is going to play you a good third base. He's got big arms, but the funny thing about Diaz is he's not going to hit you a lot of home runs. So look for about a 300 average from Diaz. They acquired Avisail Garcia, who is underrated in my opinion. He's almost Little Miggy. Guillermo Herrera, Charlie Morton, Mike Zunino, Oliver Drake, Ryan Merritt, and Emilio Pagan. I'm going to give the Rays a B+. So here's one of the teams that are on the borderline of going from a B+ to an A because I think they had a pretty good offseason. They added a lot of guys that should contribute to their team that's already going to be looking pretty good. They have Blake Snell. I will say the Rays might have a chance of going from a B+ to an A- if they can add one of the 3 remaining free agents. So if they get Gio Gonzalez, if they add Dallas Keuchel or Craig Kimbrell, I think that they're going to be a lot better. So look for the Rays to add more pieces. Now the last 2 teams that we have to talk about in the AL East, we're going to kind of talk about them at the same time because they are rivals. They're some of the most known franchises in sports. We have the Red Sox, who really didn't sign anyone new. They just kind of kept the same players. They re-signed Nathan Eovaldi, Steven Pearce. They added Juan Centino, Gorgas Hernandez, who is actually all right. They have Jenry Mejia, who I think just came back from being banned like 3 or 4 times from steroids, so I'm not sure why he's back in baseball, but okay. Erasmo Ramirez, Tony Renda, Zach Putnam, Carson Smith, and Ryan Weber. So I think the only player from the bottom list you guys would recognize is Carson Smith. He's pretty good. He's not as filthy as he was before. So considering the Red Sox already have the top payroll in baseball, they already have all their pieces in place. They were able to re-sign Nathan Eovaldi, Steve Pearce, Carson Smith, all those different guys. I would give the Red Sox about a B because they didn't get any better in my opinion, but they didn't get any worse. They just won the World Series, so I'll give them a B. And then last but not least from the AL East, we have the New York Yankees, who had one of the best off seasons that I can remember in quite some time, and they didn't even get Manny Machado. So the fact that they didn't get Harper or Machado, yet they still had a really good offseason, I'm going to give them an A for the offseason because they were able to acquire Zach Britton, J.A. Happ, DJ LeMahieu, Adam Ottavino, James Paxton. They re-signed CeCe Sabathia. They got Josh Stowers, Troy Tulowitzki, Rex Brothers, Danny Collum, and then Danny Farquhar. So all of the names that I just read are going to make massive contributions. I know CC Sabathia is a little bit under the weather right now. He's a little bit injured, so I'm not sure when he's going to be back. But all of the other additions, the Yankees needed pitching. So what did they go out and do? They re-signed J.A. Happ. They traded for James Paxton. Those are two big holes that they just filled, because now you have Severino, Paxton, J.A. Happ. You have Masahiro Tanaka, and then if CC comes back, that's not a bad 1 through 5. You re-sign Zach Britton. You add DJ LeMahieu because you have Didi Gregorius on the disabled list. You add Troy Tulowitzki, who seems to have a chip on his shoulder because the Blue Jays just gave up on him. So he's saying, you know, I'm too low. You can't give up on me. So he might come back with vengeance. I would give the Yankees an A. All right, guys. So now we are moving on over to the AL Central, and we're starting with my team, the Indians. I'm going to be a little bit passionate right now. I just got back from spring training. I saw them hit live. I saw them take BP. I watched a few games. Yeah, we had about a D- offseason. I'm going to be real. The additions that we made: Jake Bowers, Tyler Clippard, Chi-Wei Hugh, I hope I said that right, Matt Joyce, Jordan LePlo, Oliver Perez, Hanley Ramirez, who we just signed about a week ago. We traded for Carlos Santana. You got Brandon Barnes, Ryan Flaherty, blah, blah, blah. All the other guys that you can see down there. I think most notable is Trace Thompson. So, I mean, if we're talking about the Indians, I think we should be talking about the players that we lost as opposed to the players that we got, because we lost Andrew Miller, Cody Allen, Michael Brantley, and it's just Edwin Encarnacion we traded to the Mariners. I'm just So I'm going to give the Indians a D to a D- because I don't think we got any better. I know the Twins got better. I know the White Sox are trying to get better as well. So the AL Central is not going to be a complete dumpster fire in 2019. And I don't think the Indians are going to be a whole lot better because, I mean, the rotation is still elite. We have Corey Kluber, Trevor Bauer, Carlos Carrasco, Mike Clevenger, and Shane Bieber. So that's a really good rotation, but our bullpen is not very good. Hopefully we can sign Craig Kimbrell. I don't know, man. The Indians, 2019 was an offseason to forget. Kansas City Royals. Now, there was some recent news that Salvador Perez just tore his UCL. It's the same injury that Shohei Ohtani had, so he is going to get Tommy John. But the additions that they made were Homer Bailey. You know, Homer Bailey was traded from the Reds to the Dodgers. Then the Dodgers released him, so they signed Homer Bailey as a free agent. Brad Boxberger, Jake Diekman, Billy Hamilton, Terrence Gore, Chris Owings, and Drew Storen. When I say those names, I'm going to be honest, they kind of fit the Royals' name. The Royals like to be a fast team. They like bunting. They like a lot of contact guys. So the fact that they added Billy Hamilton, I mean, he's not a high contact guy, but he's fast. Terrence Gore, there's a lot of guys on this list that I like, especially Chris Owings and Drew Storen. I think they're going to have pretty good gears this year in 2019. So I'm going to give the Royals a B. I'm going to give them a flat B. I don't think that they're going to be that much better considering them they're AL Central, especially with Salvador Perez. That's, you know, something that they can't control. But the Royals, I'll give you a B. Detroit Tigers and Minnesota Twins got a little better as well in the 2019 offseason. The Tigers were able to add Josh Harrison, Jordy Mercer, Matt Moore, Tyson Ross. Those are all guys that I think will make a good contribution. Maybe not all-star contributions, but I think they will make a difference. They also have Louis Coleman, Caleb Cowhart, blah, blah, blah. A lot of guys that we don't really know about or care about anymore. No offense. So considering they are in the AL Central, they added Harrison, Mercer, Matt Moore, and Tyson Ross. You have two pitchers. You have some pretty good infielders. I'd give the Tigers, I'd say a B-. I don't think that they got worse. I think they did improve. I don't think they're going to win, so I'll give them a B-. The Minnesota Twins, oh man, I'm a little bit scared because they made a few additions that are going to be pretty scary in terms of their offense. They signed CJ Cron, who had a really good season last year for the Tampa Bay Rays, Nelson Cruz, Lucas Duda, Marwin Gonzalez, Blake Parker, Martin Perez, and Jonathan Scope. Oh my gosh, I did not realize the Twins had so many good transactions. All right, so I'm just seeing this now for the first time. This is a real-time reaction to seeing all the different players. I'm going to go ahead and give the Twins, I'm going to give them a B+. The only way that they'll be able to get an A is if they sign one more of those three free agents that we've been talking about, Craig Kimbrell, Gio Gonzalez, or Dallas Keuchel. I think that would put them on a level playing field with the Indians. What do you guys think? What do you make of the Twins? Because now we're talking about the final team in the American League Central, the White Sox. I have to be honest with you guys. I'm sorry, Chicago White Sox fans did not have a good offseason. I'll probably give you guys about a C or a C-. I'm not going to give you a D, but the reason why is because you were not able to sign Manny Machado after I thought they were going to be able to. I thought it was a for sure thing. You were able to acquire Yonder Diaz from the Cleveland Indians. You have Alex Colome, Kelvin Herrera, John Jay, James McCann, Ivan Nova, and Irvin Santana. You also have Brendan Guyer and Preston Tucker. So those are two guys that hit righties really well and lefties really well. I'm not sure what else to say aside from the fact that you did not acquire any big name free agents. You couldn't get Harper. You couldn't get Manny Machado. So I'm going to give you guys a C. I'll be nice. I'll stick with a C. I'm really excited to talk about the next division, the American League West, because the Angels, they might actually be a playoff team in 2019. So let me read off the transactions and you guys can kind of agree or disagree with me, because I give them a B offseason. So if you get a B, that means you're above average, you got better. I don't think they made any huge splashes or anything like that, but why would you need to do that when you have Mike Trout? The Angels were able to sign Cody Allen as a free agent, Justin Bour, who just hit a 500-foot home run in spring training. I think that he's going to have a pretty decent season. Trevor Cahill, Dan Jennings, Matt Harvey, Jonathan Lucroy. They also acquired a few other guys, most notably probably from this list is Tommy La Stella, but I am excited about this Angels team. You're going to have Zach Cozart coming back. They did ship away Ian Kinsler, so a lot of the guys you saw last year are no longer with the team, but they still have Trout, Justin Upton, Shohei Ohtani should come back. I'm not sure about the rotation. Again, that's always the biggest thing. I mean, they did sign Matt Harvey and Trevor Cahill, so maybe they can come back. Maybe they can revert back to their old selves, but the Angels, I am excited about this. I think the lineup is a whole lot deeper this year, so what do you guys think? What do you make of the Angels? Oh boy, I'm not excited to talk about the next team because they're really good, so I'm not trying to poo-poo the team. They swept us in the ALDS last year 3-0, and then they stole one of our best players, the Houston Astros. I would say that they had a B offseason because they were able to fill a big gap that they had in center field or kind of outfield, because Jake Marisnick, he's pretty solid, but he's not that great with the bat. Michael Brantley is pretty much the exact opposite. He's not amazing in the field, but he's amazing in the batter's box. So they were able to add Michael Brantley, Robinson Chirinos, who rakes as a catcher. He has a pretty solid arm as well. I never know how to say this guy's name. Aledmys Diaz in a trade with the Blue Jays. This guy rakes. So the Astros, I mean, they added Wade Miley as well. So don't get me wrong, Dallas Keuchel is not the end-all be-all for pitchers, but I think he's better than Miley. So I would give him a B+, but they didn't re-sign Keuchel. They added Miley instead, so I'm going to give them that solid B. They're not a whole lot better, but they still improved a little bit. The Oakland A's, who were unfortunately a fringe playoff team last year in 2018, they were defeated by the Yankees last year. Aaron Judge had a lot to say about that too, but they did improve this year. Between Brett Anderson, Jerry Blevins, Marco Estrada, Mike Fiers, Robbie Grossman, Nick Hundley, Jurickson Profar, and Joakim Soria, I think that the A's, again, they didn't lose anyone too insane. Steven Piscotty has proved that he's going to be an above average hitter. You know, Chris Davis is going to get you a 247 batting average with 40 plus home runs. They added a bunch of decent guys to their rotation. They added a lot of guys to their bullpen. So I'm going to give the A's a B for the 2019 offseason. But again, if they can sign any of the 3 remaining pitching free agents, because they have Blake Trinan, they have a pretty good bullpen already with Louis Trevino, I think that the A's are going to be pretty solid. Are they going to win the American League West? I'm not sure, because the Astros had a pretty decent offseason as well. The Mariners were busy in 2019. They added Tim Beckham, Gerson Bautista, Jay Bruce. I did not realize that they signed Jay Bruce. That's news to me. J.P. Crawford, Justin Dunn, Edwin Encarnacion, Corey Guerin, Jared Kelenic, UC Kikuchi, Shed Long, Omar Navarez, Domingo Santana, Justice Sheffield, Malik Smith, Hunter Strickland, Ichiro Suzuki, Anthony Swarzak. Oh my gosh, they signed everyone. Is my brother signed to this team? I'm going to give them, I would say that's a B+. B+, yeah, B+. And then the last team from the American League is the Texas Rangers. We're talking about Brock Burke. I have no idea who that is. Asdrubal Cabrera, Jesse Chavez, Matt Davidson, who rakes. He's one of the best cards in MLB The Show. Jason Hamill, Sean Kelly, Zach McAllister, Shelby Miller, Lance Lynn, Jeff Mathis, Hunter Pence, and Drew Smiley. So I do have to be honest with you guys. They signed, oh my gosh, they signed a bunch of these guys, other players. We're not going to talk about all of them, but their main pickups, there's a lot of guys that are veterans. I don't know if they're going to be able to produce on the level that they have before, but Shelby Miller's all right. Lance Lynn, he showed that he was capable with the Yankees. You have Hunter Pence. I think he's probably going to hit 260 or 275, so I'd probably give the Rangers a B. Again, we're giving out a lot of Bs because I don't think these teams are worse. I don't think that they're the same. They got a little bit better, but not enough to get an A or even a B+. So Rangers, you get a B from me. Now we are switching from the American League to the National League. So the first team that we have to talk about in the National League East is the Braves. I'm giving them a B+ because they were able to add Josh Donaldson. They re-signed Nick Markakis, and they actually got Brian McCann on their squad as well. I think the Braves already have a really good team in place. That's why I'm giving them a B+ because they didn't have to do a whole lot to get better. The fact that they have Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies, Dansby Swanson is going to come back. They added Josh Donaldson, who actually was pretty good with the Indians. He had a +900 OPS, which is really good for the Indians last year in the second half. So I think Donaldson's going to make a good impact. Great addition. Nick Markakis, just stick him in right field. He should be all right. His second half was pretty bad, but then they added Brian McCann for some leadership. So Braves, I'm going to give you a B+. Now, again, this is a fringe team. I would love to see Craig Kimbrell go back to the Braves. I think that would be really awesome. But if they had one more rotation piece between Gonzalez or Keuchel, they're going to get an A for my offseason picks. The Marlins, very, very interesting. They acquired Jorge Alfaro because they traded JT Realmuto, Riley Farrell, Curtis Granderson, who is old and still playing. Not sure how. He's still productive, but not the best player. Sergio Romo, you have Neil Walker, you have Sixto Sanchez, Pedro Alvarez, a lot of other guys. Okay. Marlins, I don't think you guys got better. I don't think you got worse. I'm going to give you a C+. I'm going to give the Marlins a C+ just because they're the Marlins, and they haven't really made that great of decisions. They lost Giancarlo Stanton, Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna, and JT Realmuto all in the last 2 years, which is insane. All right, on to the next team in the National League East. We're talking about the New York Mets, Draft Nick Mark's favorite team. I think that they had an A offseason. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to give them an A, maybe even an A- because it was good. Maybe not as good as the Yankees because I gave them an A because they filled in all the holes. But the Mets acquired Keon Broxton, Robinson Cano, J.D. Davis, Rajah Davis, Edwin Diaz, Jurgis Familia, Jed Lowry, who is injured right now, Wilson Ramos, Justin Wilson. They also acquired a few other players, most notably Devin Mazarosco, Denny Echeverria, Hector Santiago, and Danny Espinoza. So the Mets, I think they had a pretty good offseason, but I don't know if they have the best because there's only 2 A's on this list. The Yankees, I gave an A, and then a team that we have to talk about in just a second. But the New York Mets, yeah, Keon Broxton, Robinson Cano, Edwin Diaz, Jurgis Familia, Wilson Ramos, I'll give you guys an A-. The Nationals had a B+ offseason, even though they lost Bryce Harper. A lot of people are on the bandwagon saying that Bryce Harper was overrated, but I think the Nationals can afford it because they have a lot of prospects. They re-signed a few guys, such as Patrick Corbin, Brian Dozier, Yan Gomes, which they acquired from the Indians, Jeremy Hellickson, Anibal Sanchez, Kurt Suzuki. They re-signed Matt Adams, Vidal Nuno, and Trevor Rosenthal, who is looking really good. He has not been in baseball in quite some time, but the Nationals, even though they lost Harper, I think with their rotation, I think that Juan Soto really saved this grade. I think that Victor Robles is going to be a good impact as well. Adamine is going to have a full season under his belt. Hopefully, Adamine does get injured quite a lot, but I'm going to give the Nationals a B to B+. I think that they had a pretty decent offseason considering who they kept, who they got away, and who they re-signed or signed. The Philadelphia Phillies had an A offseason. I'm not going to give them an A+. The only reason why the Phillies would get an A+, again, just like a lot of teams in this video, is if they sign one of the 2 left starting pitchers. I don't think they really need Craig Kimbrell. I mean, they do need bullpen pitchers, but I don't think at the price of Kimbrell. So if they can add Gio Gonzalez, I think that would be the perfect fit, along with Bryce Harper, Andrew McCutchen, David Robertson. Forgot about David Robertson, so put him on the list. JT Realmuto, Gene, the hit machine, Segura. They have Jose Alvarez. They have a bunch of different guys. James Pezos. James Pezos is pretty good from the left-hand side of the bump, and then Sean Rodriguez, who can play anywhere on the diamond. So I think the Phillies, again, they're one of the 2 teams on this list that had an A offseason. They will get an A+ if they can sign either Keuchel or Gio Gonzalez. I'm not sure if it's going to happen, but the Phillies, better watch out for them in 2019. Maybe not a World Series, but they're going to be scary. The NL Central is led off by the Brewers, who signed Alex Claudio, Ben Gamel, Yasmani Grandal, Mike Moustakas, Corey Spangenberg, and then a bunch of different guys like Josh Tomlin and Bobby Wall. I mean, they're decent. I will say that the Brewers did get better with the addition of Yasmani Grandal because I think a big hole that they had last season was the fact that they had Manny Pena and Eric Kratz at the catching position, which they both came in pretty big in the postseason, but I think for the full season as well as the postseason, I mean, which is kind of weird because Yasmani kind of stunk it up for the Dodgers in the postseason, so I think that he is going to make a good contribution. Mike Moustakas should be pretty good. Ben Gamel is going to be a pretty good bench bat, as well as Corey Spangenberg, so I'll give the Brewers a B. B for Brewers. The St. Louis Cardinals had an A- offseason. I was thinking, do I give them an A- or a B+, but I think with the addition of Paul Goldschmidt and Andrew Miller, those are 2 guys that if they're healthy and at the top of their game, they're going to have amazing seasons. So they added Paul Goldschmidt, Andrew Miller, they re-signed a couple different guys. They have Drew Robinson and Matt Wieters on their team. The Cardinals, they're getting an A- from me. Not an A, A-. The Cubs had a very interesting offseason. I think it's because Chris Bryant's coming back. Addison Russell was just reinstated, so maybe they think that they're going to revert back to their 2016 ways. Yu Darvish is throwing absolute seeds in spring training, so he looks to be healthy as well. They added Tony Barnett, Brad Brock, Daniel Descalso, Xavier Cedeno, Kendall Graveman, and Junichi Tazawa. So with all of those, I'd probably give, I mean, the Cubs didn't really add anyone too crazy, so I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm probably going to give the Cubs a C+, C+ for Cubs. So yeah, they're going to be good, but their offseason moves, not that great. Just like the Indians, I think the Indians are going to be good, but their offseason moves were pretty eh. And then the last two teams that we have to talk about from the NL Central are the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cincinnati Reds. The Pirates, I'm probably going to give a C+ because it's not that they got a lot better, but they did add a few pieces that are all right. They added Melky Cabrera, Lonnie Chisenhall, Jung Ho Kang is coming back. I think he was suspended from a DUI, so they get him back as well, along with Francisco Liriano and, Jordan Lyles. I'll give him a C+. And then there's the Cincinnati Reds, who actually had a pretty good offseason. They added Derek Dietrich, Zach Duke, Sonny Gray, Jose Iglesias, Matt Kemp, Yasiel Puig, Tanner Roark, Alex Wood, and they also added Kyle Farmer and Matt Bowman. But a big thing, they got rid of Homer Bailey. So I think the Reds, I'm going to give the Reds a B. Do I give them a B+? I'm going to go ahead and stick with a, actually, let's go B+. I don't think that they had an A- offseason, but they definitely did get better. And yeah, I like those pickups. Not too bad. All right, guys, so now we are down to the final division in baseball, the final transactions from all the ball clubs. The first team in the NL West is the D-backs. I do have to give them a C+ because I think that they did get a little bit younger because the Diamondbacks, I'm not sure what they're doing either. Just like the Mariners, are they in reboot? Are they in rebuild? Are they trying to win? I'm not really too sure because Paul Goldschmidt is a top 5 player in the league when he's healthy and on top of his game. So in that trade, they acquired Carson Kelly and Luke Weaver. Again, young players that might have a high ceiling. I'm not really too sure. They added Wilmer Flores, Greg Holland, and a couple different guys like Caleb Joseph and Tim LeCastro along with Kelby Tomlinson. So I'll give the Diamondbacks a C+. I don't think they completely lost out, but I think Paul Goldschmidt getting him away, that's unfortunate. LA Dodgers. Now I'm gonna be a little bit pessimistic with the Dodgers because they were supposed to have a big offseason this year. I don't know what it is about Magic Johnson owned teams that's like they're supposed to be really good and then they don't really do that well, hence LeBron and the Lakers. 2019 offseason for the Dodgers, they were supposed to get Bryce Harper because they traded away Yasiel Puig, Alex Wood, and Matt Kemp to open up space, but then he did not choose to go there, Bryce Harper. So yeah, I'm going to give the Dodgers a C. I'm going to give them a B-, actually, a B-. The reason why I say a B- is because they still have good pieces in place. Corey Seager is going to come back, so we're taking that into account as well. They acquired Jeter Downs, who should be pretty good, Josiah Gray. Joe Kelly is going to be an excellent addition to their bullpen. Russell Martin, AJ Pollock, who is pretty good as well. Not the best outfielder in the game, but he's probably a top 20 outfielder in Major League Baseball, along with Adam McCreary and Jamie Schultz. So if we take a look, again, it's either a B- or a C+. I'm not really too sure. I'll probably need help with this one as well. And then the San Francisco Giants, again, they were big on the Bryce Harper sweepstakes, but they were not able to secure Mr. Bryce Harper. Instead, they got Mike Gerber, Derek Holland, Cameron Maben, Gerardo Parra, Drew Pomeranz, Yanjarvis Solarte, Pat Venditti, Stephen Vogt, and a lot of guys. I mean, the Giants, they're a C+. The San Diego Padres are getting an A- from me because they were able to land a big fish by the name of Manny Machado. They also added Ian Kinsler, Aaron Loup, who is, I mean, if you watch a Kevin God video, you know that Aaron Loup is just a little eh. Garrett Richards, who is injured right now, but if he comes back healthy, watch out for him. Alan Craig, I did not know that Alan Craig was still playing baseball, as well as Greg Garcia, so I do have to give them an A- because it's not an A, it's not an A+, but if they can add Gio Gonzalez or Dallas Keuchel, especially at Petco Park, yo, the Padres are going to be a whole lot better. And then last but not least, the final team on the agenda is the Colorado Rockies. One of their biggest holes was at first base. I know that Ian Desmond was serviceable, but he's not really a first baseman by nature, so Daniel Murphy as well as Mark Reynolds, I think that they're going to be two big bats, especially at Coors Field. Mark Reynolds had one of his best seasons back in the day when he was with the Rockies, and then Daniel Murphy, one of the best contact hitters in baseball. The ball is going to be flying off Daniel Murphy's bat, so I think that he can maybe get you 30, maybe 35 home runs with a .330 batting average. I think that Daniel Murphy is going to go off in 2019. So with those two kind of little additions, they didn't add to their pitching or anything like that. I'll probably give the Rockies a B. You know, not that much better, but they did improve. Oh my gosh, guys, that was a long video. Thank you to everyone who actually made it to this point. If you agree or disagree with any of the grades that I provided in this video, make sure you let me know in the comment section as to why you disagree or agree. Also, let me know your favorite team and then give me your own opinion as well. So thank you all so much for watching. Baseball is back. There's a few teams that were A- or A's that could go to an A+. There's a few teams on the borderline of B+ and A-. So if they add a few players like the Phillies, the Padres, if they add a lefty starting pitcher to their rotation, I think that they're going to be that A+ team. So guys, thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.